I was upset even more because this girl, knowing that at first I came in very nicely, willing to listen to all the stuff that she had to say, but it's her customer service, her nasty customer service, her attitude that really set it all off. It was like the cherry on top. And I'm like, really? Like, really? I'm like, girl, just because you're behind that counter, you are so lucky. But, you know, my boyfriend calmed me down a little bit. The girl at least managed to dial customer service on my phone because that's like the only number I could call. I told them the situation, I gave them my information, and they asked me for this 8-digit code to try to get into their system and get into my personal account and see what was going on exactly. I'm like, what 8-digit code? I'm like, you know what, since I first came to this company and activated my phone here, I don't remember ever having made a secret 8-digit code. So, you know, I'm sorry, but I can't give you information that I don't have. And he's like, you know what, let's try this. I have a security question here for you that, you know, if you answer it correctly, we could get into your information. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, mind you, I'm already frustrated at the fact that my line got canceled. I'm frustrated at the fact that that girl gave me nasty customer service. And now there's this 8-digit code that I apparently made up and gave them that I have no idea about. So now he's asking me for the answer to the security question that supposedly I may have set up at some point that I don't ever recall doing so. So the question was, you know, what was your childhood nickname? And I'm like, well, you know, it wasn't really a nickname, but okay, let's go for it and try it. So I gave it to him, and it didn't work. It didn't work, and I kind of knew it wasn't going to work because I don't ever remember having set up a security question or a code. And I'm like, oh, you know, okay. So I'm like, well, you can't help me. He couldn't help me, so I hung up. God bless my boyfriend, really, because if it weren't for him, I don't know what I would have done. He was there to support me and help calm me down because I really felt like I was this close to bouncing off the wall in frustration because it seemed like I couldn't get anything done. Like I couldn't get anywhere with this whole situation. I was going to walk back in the store and ask them if they knew anything about an 8-digit code. And my boyfriend suggested, oh, and I thank him so much because I wouldn't have thought about this, especially in the state that I was in. He tells me, why don't you just call your brother and ask him if he knows what code they're talking about? So I called my brother on my boyfriend's phone and I go, hey, my line has been canceled and they're telling me that there's an 8-digit code that I gotta give them. Do you have any idea what this 8-digit code is? It has to be exactly 8 numbers. And he goes, oh yeah, it's your birthday. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it's your birthday. It's your birthday. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So I go, all right, thank you. I'll call you later or I'll be home or whatever. And I go back in. I'm like, you know what? I don't really need to talk to that girl right now because I already have the code that I needed. So I just call information again and let them know this 8-digit code that they wanted. So I called and another person answered the phone. The most delightful lady I could have spoken to at that moment. She helped me so much, you guys. I literally cried. I cried my little eyes out at the end of that phone call with her because I call her and I tell her the situation and at some point she got confused. So I told her the situation again, step by step, slowly. And she told me, okay, you know what, I'll get you your number back and, you know, I'll put it in a separate account and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait, so I'm going to have 2 accounts under my name? She's like, yes. I'm like, well, is there any way I can possibly just, you know, because the other account was made under my name and, you know, it's just my brother and my mom are on that account. And, you know, we used to be all together. And she goes, oh, you know, if you want then I can just put you back on the old account with your mom and your brother and You know, that way you won't have to pay your activation fee for this new account plus your plan on top of that. And I'm like, oh, that would be the most amazing thing you could do for me today. So that's exactly what she did. She put me back on my old account with my same number and the same price. I didn't have to pay anything extra but what I owe monthly. So I cried because throughout this whole frustration, someone finally gets me. And I was so happy. I thanked her so much. Once I hung up, I went over to that girl, and by this time, she looked a little strange. Like something happened, but I couldn't quite get it, and I didn't know what had happened until I came home. I go to her, and she goes, so what happened? And I'm like, well, the lady was nice enough, and she reactivated my number. All I have to do is pay, you know, the amount I owe monthly. That's it. And she's like, oh yeah, that's good. You know, you're very lucky. I'm like, why? She's like, because most of the time, once people's numbers have been canceled, they won't connect you back whatsoever. So you're really lucky. She must have been really nice. I was like, yes, she was a doll. When I came home, I told my mom the whole situation. And she says, you know what? This is the reason why I think the girl was weird when I finally went in. She said, I spoke to that girl. I called her. And rephrasing what my mom says, she told her that, you know, she doesn't understand why there was a misunderstanding when my mom had told this girl that the line was just to be put on hold. She never at any moment tried to give her the understanding that she wanted to cancel the line. So, all in all, that was my horrible customer service phone mishap. And it was just so nasty, and it was so frustrating because I had such a bad experience. That's why people, please, 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 if you work at customer service, wherever you live, whatever store, restaurant, whatever it is that you work at, don't be nasty. Please don't be nasty. People don't appreciate it, and I sure as heck know that you wouldn't appreciate it if you were to go somewhere and people are nasty towards you. We don't like it. But you try to be the best person that you can be. Because believe it or not, you can be that one person who brighten up somebody else's day, whether they're working or on the other side of the counter. You could just completely make their day. You'll feel better. You know, it's just, do your job. Do it right. Do it nicely. Please, please, please. I feel so much better. Now that I've said everything and I've ranted out this for like a cajillion hours, what can I tell you? I hope you guys are getting ready for the weekend. Hope you guys have a good, safe weekend, and I will see you guys in my next video, okay? And thank you so much for watching.